Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Worried about what ingredients are hiding in your groceries? Let us take the guesswork out. We're Thrive Market, the online grocery store with the highest quality standards in the industry. We restrict 1,000 plus ingredients, so you can trust that you'll only find the best high-quality, organic, and sustainable brands, all free of the junk. With savings up to 30% off and fast carbon-neutral shipping, you get top trusted groceries at your door, and you can stop worrying about what your kids get their hands on. Start shopping at thrivemarket.com/podcast for 30% off your first order and a free gift.
Of Real Life Ghost Stories, and I have 3 spooky stories for you today, and the last story comes from February the 12th, 2025, and story number 1 comes from Lorna. A few weeks ago, my partner and I decided to stay at my mother's so we could have a night out in the area. We have 2 cats, Grogu and Shadow, and instead of leaving them home alone, we decided to take them with us and keep them at mum's. I will add as well that my mum has 2 cats and she was away at the time, so we could also look after them as well. So we get to my mum's and put the cats in my old bedroom, which is large enough for the both of them, and they wouldn't upset the other 2 or get out the cat flap. Well, we lock them in the room and then go out for drinks. We get back to the house and open the door. One of my mum's cats is sat at the bottom of the stairs and I say hi to him. Then I see Shadow running off into the kitchen. We realise that both cats have somehow escaped the room and the door is wide open. We have a bit of a chase around the entire house trying to catch them and finally get them back in the room. We're so panicked about them escaping and potentially could have gotten out that we don't stop to think about how the heck they managed to get the door open. A week or so goes by and our cats are safely at home when I got told a little story about current events that have been happening at my mum's. It apparently started by my dad seeing someone walk from my old bedroom to my mum's office, and assuming it was my mum, he went downstairs and only saw a pair of ladies' legs wearing a skirt walk by. He asked my mum if she had left her office and she said no, but didn't think anything else of it. The next day my mum's on a Teams call. She has had the camera pointing at her and you can see the door. She doesn't realise that everyone in the meeting has left. And on what she thinks is someone else's screen, she sees a woman walking out of the bedroom and in through the door. She goes to tell the person she sees someone walk past when she realises it's her own screen and she's looking at the door behind her. She shouts to my dad, who has also seen a lady walking out of the bedroom and into the office. He says the door of my old bedroom opened and then a lady walked out and into the office. Some more odd things have happened, like the door being open even though they closed it, or seeing this lady walking out of the room, etc. Now, I don't know. The cats could have opened the door somehow, but they are both idiots. And the door locks, so how could they push the handle down, unlock the door and pull it towards them to open it? This lady, whoever she is, has gone and let my cats out of the bedroom so they could cause havoc in my mum's house. They ended up ripping open every bag of treats in the house and eating them all, while my mum's cats sat and watched it happen. I was fuming. P.S. When my aunt died, she told my dad that if he didn't visit her grave enough, then she would come back and haunt him. He's not been to her grave in a few months. Tell your dad to get to that grave, because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. I do love that saying. Even though I do think it's laced with inherent misogyny, I do very much enjoy that saying. It sounds like somebody is very much making themselves known in your mum and dad's house. And I mean, opening the door and letting the cats out is a bit of a baller move, because cats can be so chaotic when they feel so inclined. As somebody who is the current owner of a tiny chaotic monster, I accidentally left the press open in the kitchen one day when I went out, And when I came back, every food item from that press was scattered around the kitchen, and there were little tiny teeth marks in every packet that could be bitten. So, you know, they are little chaos monsters when they want to be. So it's a baller move to let the cats out and be like, go ahead, you eat all the treats, run around the place, smash shit up, do my job for me. Maybe poltergeists are missing a trick. Maybe they need to outsource some of their work to pretty chaotic cats, which I would be a big advocate for, to be honest. But to get serious for a second, that does sound terrifying, and I feel like sitting on a Teams meeting with your camera on and then realising somebody's walked past you behind you. Oh, that gave me the heebie-jeebies all over, because I don't know if people have seen the horror film Host, which was kind of a lockdown horror film where they decide to do like a seance on Zoom for the crack. Listen, that film caused me untold trauma. And this is obviously an entity that wants to be seen, right? Because your dad is seeing a pair of ladies' legs, which reminded me of Cow and Chicken, because I'm pretty sure the mum and dad in Cow and Chicken were just legs, right? Did that cartoon Cow and Chicken, or maybe it was Cat Dog. I don't think it was Cat Dog. I think it was Cow and Chicken. I don't know. If I were your dad, I'd be going to that grave, bringing some flowers and going, please stop wandering around my house and letting cats out. It's quite alarming. And story number 2 comes from Tina. I've had 2 experiences centred around apartment or furniture hunting in New York City. The first involved the liquidation of furnishings in the venerable Gramercy Park Hotel, built in 1925, before its 2003 renovation by Ian Schrager of Studio 54 fame and the artist Julian Schnabel. For about a week, the public were allowed to go through all of the rooms in the hotel and purchase anything that remained: dressers, chairs and other furnishings, glass and tableware, wall-mounted cast iron bottle openers. Historically known for housing artists of all types, it was a fascinating experience walking through rooms that had housed Humphrey Bogart, Babe Ruth, Bob Marley, David Mamet and David Bowie. Consisting of the main hotel and an adjacent annex, everything was for sale. My first walkthrough was midweek, so I was alone. All was quite normal until I was working my way through one of the annex floors. As I turned into the hallway, a woman came out of the corner of the room wiping her eyes and rushed down the hall towards the elevator. That was a bit odd, but it wasn't long after 9/11, an event which normalised crying in public in Manhattan, so I just shrugged it off. I continued to work my way through the rooms without incident. Then I entered that corner suite. Unlike other rooms, it was pristine. None of the furnishings had been removed, even though we were several days into the sale, and there were quite a few nice pieces. As I entered the bedroom, my eyes were drawn to the telephone next to the bed, and I was slammed with a feeling of grief, akin to learning my father had died. It was so visceral that it almost knocked me over. I left the room, tears streaming down my face, and exited the annex as quickly as I could. I had to wonder if the woman I had seen earlier had experienced the same thing. I decided to test it. On the weekend, I returned with my boyfriend, now husband. I had not told him what happened, and we went through the buildings much as I had, although mostly musing over all the people who had stayed there instead of actively furniture hunting. When we got to the annex, I lagged behind him so I wouldn't telegraph my discomfort. When we got to the room in question, I followed him in. The feeling was not nearly as strong as it had been earlier in the week, but after about 15 seconds he turned to me and said, "I don't like this room. Let's go." I'm not sure if it was residual emotion or something more active, but we agreed that we would not go back. The second experience happened when we were apartment hunting a few years later. The rental market in New York City is vicious, so you try to get into C units as quickly as they open up. One of the buildings we were interested in was another pre-war 1927 building situated near the infamous Chelsea Hotel. We applied to the doorman and were given a list of units. They were all very good sized, but had not been modernised at that time. For example, the refrigerator was sometimes located in the bedroom. That being said, they were interesting apartments, so we worked our way through the entire list, in the hope of finding something that would work for us. One of the units was still in the process of being cleaned and repainted from its previous tenancy, and it was quite obvious that it had not been done in decades. But it was a nice unit on a lower floor, so we lingered. As my husband stood looking out the original casement window at a rainy 23rd Street below, the hair on the back of my neck suddenly stood on end, and I went ice cold from the top of my head to my heels, despite my winter clothing, but only the rear half of my body, as if I'd taken a half a step back into a walk-in freezer, leaving my front in the kitchen. This was particularly odd since I was facing the windows, the source of any potential draft. I was also filled with an absolute certainty that something or someone wanted us out. I called to my husband. "We need to leave now. This apartment is occupied." Apparently the look on my face or tone of voice was quite striking because he didn't ask any questions. He grabbed his coat, took my arm and walked me out of the unit. As we left, he turned to look over his shoulder, saying aloud, "We're very sorry for disturbing you. We didn't realise these are still your rooms." You have to love a person who, although he noticed nothing himself, respects your experience enough to not only accept but to apologise aloud based on a claim out of the blue that someone unseen still holds the real estate. I honestly, Tina, think that the chance to go to a hotel like that, walk through and buy any furniture that they're not using, that they're going to get rid of, that's all I could focus on, because I would be living in that hotel, up and down, trying to find little bargains. I love furniture that is good for upcycling. That brings me some serious joy. What a cool thing to do. And I wonder what it was about that room. Isn't it so interesting when certain places just hold on to feelings? Obviously, that woman that, came towards you, tears streaming down her face, really upset, because you'd be thinking, oh, maybe there's something going on for her. Like, I totally get it. People walk around in public sometimes and they're visibly upset, and it just is what it is. But then you go into that room and you have a feeling of grief that's similar to learning that your dad had died. Like, that's an incredibly deep, soul-wrenching sadness. That's not just like, oh, this room makes me feel a bit off. And to say that it was so visceral it almost knocked you over. Like, what is that room holding on to? And to then be in a situation where you were able to bring your boyfriend and go, we're just going to have a wander around and see if he reacted the same way, and he did. Wouldn't you love to know the history of what happened in that room? Wouldn't you love to know what it was that made that room retain all of that sadness and discomfort? And to then have a similar feeling, like, obviously, when you were looking at that apartment, it wasn't as visceral. It wasn't that like real heart-wrenching sadness. But having that feeling that, oh, something is not right here. And then to be able to go, no, we're out, And look, I love your husband for this. Because sometimes you don't have to believe the same things as the people you love, right? You don't have to believe in ghosts, goblins or ghouls, if your partner is a spooky person. But to be respectful enough to go, I recognise that you are having this experience, that you are having these feelings. It is uncomfortable for you. I'm going to respect that. I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to apologise out loud. Now that is real love. That has really melted my heart.
Worried about what ingredients are hiding in your groceries? Let us take the guesswork out. We're Thrive Market, the online grocery store with the highest quality standards in the industry. We restrict 1,000 plus ingredients, so you can trust that you'll only find the best high quality, organic, and sustainable brands, all free of the junk. With savings up to 30% off and fast carbon neutral shipping, you get top trusted groceries at your door, and you can stop worrying about what your kids get their hands on. Start shopping at thrivemarket.com/podcast for 30% off your first order and a free gift.
Hi guys, it's Hannah from Giggly Squad. With summer around the corner, I wanted to tell you guys how I'm staying comfy and stylish. Lululemon is my secret weapon. There are plenty of copycats out there, but nothing compares to the Lululemon fabrics and fit. I've literally had my pair of Lululemon leggings since college. And I'm out of college. I know I don't look it, but I am. The quality is next level. I especially love the Lululemon Align collection. It's made with this weightless, buttery soft Nulu fabric that feels like next to nothing. It's so soft. Whether you're in Align pants, shorts, a bra, tank, skirt, a dress, you get nonstop flexibility in every direction so you can stretch the summer limits. Align even wicks sweat. And as a sweaty girl, I love this. You know it's going to be my best friend when I play tennis this summer. Shop the Align collection online at lululemon.com or your nearest Lululemon store.
Want to pull off the season's freshest trends? You just need the right shoes. That's where Designer Shoe Warehouse comes in. Loving wide leg jeans? Pair them with sleek, low-profile sneakers. Obsessed with the sheer trend? Try it with mesh flats. Feeling boho? Comfy sandals nail the whole free-spirited thing. Find on-trend shoes from the brands you love, like Birkenstock, Nike, Adidas, and more at DSW.
Are you a homeowner looking to sell your home fast and want your cash now? How about getting cash for your home twice? Hi, I'm Sarah Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Empower Home Team with Keller Williams. Our cash offer stands above the rest. With our cash offer, you get the majority of your funds based on your home's value right away. That's right, cash in the bank within days. We will then sell your home for top dollar and you get the rest. Yes, with our cash offer, you get paid not only once, but twice. Call us now at 703-637-SOLD or go to debbiehasthebuyers.com.
And our final story today comes from Jax. It was the early to mid-90s in a small town in South Africa. I must have been around 6 years old at the time. My dad owned a pizza shop which I loved spending time at. One weekend, an order came in for a pizza to be delivered to a church just around the corner. The pizza guy, let's call him Greg, was the one taking the delivery, and I asked if I could go along for the walk. As we entered the churchyard, an uneasy feeling settled deep in my stomach. Something about the place felt creepy. But Greg was with me, so I pushed the feeling aside. We walked to the back of the church where the priest's house stood. Greg knocked, and after a moment the door creaked open. That was when I saw him. The priest. His skin was pale, almost translucent. His eyes were red and piercing. He wasn't looking at Greg. He was looking at me. No, staring at me. I froze. I couldn't move. Couldn't look away. He didn't blink. It was like he wasn't human, like he could see through me, past my skin and bones, into something deeper. My tiny brain scrambled for an answer, and the only thing that made sense was, he's a vampire. Greg and the priest spoke, but I didn't hear a word. The priest never stopped staring, and I knew, he knew, that I saw what he really was. When we left, I stayed as close to Greg as possible, desperate to get out of there as fast as I could. I never asked if he had noticed anything. Maybe I was too afraid of the answer. Strangely, not long after that, I almost forgot about the entire thing. It was like the memory had been locked away, pushed into a dark corner of my mind, until we moved. The new house was just down the street from the church, and as soon as we settled in, I knew, he knew where I was, and I knew that he would watch me. For about a week, every odd month, something would come into my room. I would close my door, shut the curtains, yet I would see something shifting behind them. A dark, lurking presence. The few times I gathered the courage to check, there was nothing there. But deep in my gut, I knew the truth. It was him. As I grew older, it stopped happening, but to this day, whenever I think of his face or the feeling I would get, I still get that ice-cold drop in my stomach. Was he a vampire? Was he some demonic creature? I know what I saw, and he definitely wasn't human. A couple of years ago, I moved into a new flat, an old house that had been converted into separate units. My nephew was the first to point it out, calling it creepy, saying it looked haunted. I laughed it off at the time, but looking back, maybe he sensed something I didn't. At least, not until that night. I've never been a great sleeper. Insomnia, restless nights, waking up for no reason, it's just how I am. But this night was different. I woke up suddenly, my heart pounding, a deep, unsettling feeling creeping over me. Someone was watching me. I scanned the room, but nothing seemed out of place. No shadows, no movement, yet the feeling only grew stronger, heavy in the air, pressing down on my chest. I sighed and laid back down, trying to brush it off. But then I saw it. In the reflection of my TV, which sat at the foot of my bed, something was there. Something right next to me. It was just a head, floating, disembodied, the mouth curled into a wide, twisted grin. Its eyes were malicious. He looked demonic and evil. Turning my head to look beside me, nothing. I swallowed hard and looked back at the TV. He moved closer. I did this again, and each time, whenever I looked directly at it, there was nothing, but in the reflection it was always there, watching, grinning, coming closer until it was inches from my face. That was when I lost it. I bolted out of bed, flicked on the lights, and spent the rest of the night on the couch, my heart racing, my body trembling. I never saw it again. Not in that room, not in any reflection, but I still remember its face, burned into my mind like a scar. I know what I saw, and I know it wasn't just a trick of the light, because there were no lights on. This happened many years ago. I was young, a teenager. Out of everyone in my family, I had always shared a deep bond with my gran. She was more than just my grandmother. She was my safe place, my warmth, my home. One night, in the middle of the night, probably around 1 or 2 a.m, I suddenly woke up. There was no sound, no movement, just a scent. Her perfume. It was unmistakable, that familiar, comforting fragrance wrapped around me like she was standing there, holding me in one of her big warm hugs. My chest tightened with panic. Something was wrong. I needed to call her. I needed to make sure that she was okay. But as I reached for my phone, doubt crept in. It was the middle of the night. What if I was overreacting? What if it was just a dream lingering as I woke up? I forced myself to calm down, promising to call her first thing in the morning. As I adjusted my duvet, something caught my eye. At the foot of my bed, a white shadow stood still. My breath hitched. My body locked in place. My heart slammed against my ribs. I yanked the covers over my head, every inch of me screaming in terror. Maybe it was my imagination. Maybe I was half asleep. I needed to check again, to prove to myself that it wasn't real. Slowly, hesitantly, I peeked over the edge of the duvet. It was still there. A figure, pale and unmoving, standing in the dim light of my room. A man. Panic surged through me and I dove back under the covers, trembling, trying to breathe quietly, but then the bed dipped. I felt it, the unmistakable weight of someone sitting down beside me. Then, a hand on my arm. Soft, warm, comforting. I should have screamed, I should have run, but I didn't. A strange calmness washed over me, soothing the fear that had paralysed me just moments before. The touch wasn't menacing. It was gentle, reassuring. Somehow, in that moment, I knew I was safe. I drifted into sleep, wrapped in an unexplainable peace. The next morning, as I replayed everything in my mind, realization hit me like a wave. The figure, the presence, the touch. It was my grandfather. Shaking, I called my gran, desperate to tell her what had happened and to check in on her. Her voice was calm, almost knowing. "I asked him to check in on you," she said softly. "I was worried about you, so I asked your grandfather to watch over you. And he did." That was the night I learned that love, real, true love, never leaves. Not even after death. Oh, you guys are killing me today with all this sentimentality. Oh, all this, real love survives death. God, that is beautiful. There's a beautiful sentiment seeping through today's episode. And what a beautiful thing to think that our loved ones look after us after we die. I mean, granted, like I've always said, there's a bit of fear there, you know. I mean, waking up smelling your grandmother's perfume and being like, oh, that's nice, and then, oh shit, something is wrong. You know, I think we need to kind of, like I've said before, reassess how we approach this from the afterlife. I don't care who is standing in the dim light of my room. I'm shitting myself. You know what I mean? I'm terrified. I don't care if it's somebody come to comfort me. I'm terrified. I'm scared. I'm crying, screaming, throwing up, etc. Hiding under the covers. And I know, obviously then you got that warm, comforting feeling and you realised in the morning, oh my God, it was my granddad. And that is beautiful. That really is beautiful. But I think we need to work on the introduction part of this situation, lest you are misconstrued for a vampiric priest. That story really gave me the heebie-jeebies. There's something, there's some people that just trigger something in you. And I feel like it's almost like an uncanny valley thing. Like, there's obviously bad people, right? There's people who do bad things. And sometimes you meet those people and you go, oh, you give me bad vibes. And you can't quite put your finger on it, but you know, you give me bad vibes. I don't know if you're a good person. This is giving me the heebie-jeebies. But when somebody triggers that kind of response in you, that feeling of like, oh no, you are something other. And of course, when you're a kid, your brain is going to go, I'm scrambling around trying to figure out what this is. Vampire. That's the easiest thing to settle on, right? Vampire. Oh, I don't know, this story, maybe it's grown up Irish Catholic, I don't know, but that story has really given me the heebie-jeebies. And the fact that you later moved down the road from the church and you're like, I know that he is going to be watching me. I know that he is going to know that I'm there. He's going to know that I clocked him, that I realised that he was something other, and therefore he's going to need to keep an eye on me. And as for that face in the TV, the fact that you couldn't see it physically in the room, but you could see it in the reflection, honestly, boot straight through the TV screen. No screen, no reflection, problem solved. And what could that be? You know, in terms of entities, in terms of the supernatural, what are you only seeing in a reflection? A floating head that's like, you know, sneering at you in the reflection, getting closer and closer to you. Oh, that has made me feel like, you know, I don't have a TV in my room. I never have. But what if there's things kind of lurking around you on the reg? Not just you, Jax, but, you know, people in general. And you just don't see them because you can't see them with your naked eye. But for some reason, you can see them in reflections. Or you can see them in, you know, cameras or whatever. Oh, don't. I'm giving myself the heebie-jeebies now. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Lorna, Tina and Jax for sending in your stories. The last story came from February the 12th, 2025. And if you would like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website, reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or $2 a month, you can get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.